Hello, I am Papagino. I have some battles to share today. Let's look at them. This first one, it's from ranked actually, and it's a point I've been trying to make for a while now. It's just to showcase how unfair, unfun, and not skill based, not competitive it is. This is a battle from Silver 1. There are 5 days thereabouts left in the season, so we're towards the end of the season for sure, but it's full still of matches just like this one, and I mostly just have, bronze level summoners, bronze level cards for me to fight in this format to begin with. I refuse in principle to get silver cards just in order to compete in a league I didn't want to fight in the first place. So very weird situation we have in ranked in modern these days. And we can take a look at the match. Maybe I could have chosen a different summoner, slightly different units, but I think my submission was reasonably sound and logical. Overall, it's mostly just a matter we can watch the game. It's a matter of, this unit being level 4 for just 2 mana, it does 2 damage instead of 1, so that's a pretty big deal going through the battle. Eventually it's gonna really tip the scale in the favor of the opponent here, and most importantly, perhaps what really makes this obnoxious to face off for me is this level 2 legendary, whereas I only have level 1, you can play it at level 2, so it gets this very strong resurgence ability. I basically would have to defeat him twice, which is just not possible. We can watch the battle. If it had been a battle limited to bronze level, on an even playing field, I think I would have won, or at least I would have had a chance, but no way against these silver level cards. So it's just a really sad state of affairs we have. I've been very critical of this because it really makes the game unenjoyable, absolutely. So I don't know, I've had some troubles with this recently. You can watch my last Hive post, and overall, I don't know, I just don't like this game mode. I think they made a huge, terrible mistake taking away the leagues, the level restrictions on the cards. It doesn't make for a fair fight, for an enjoyable fight, so just very sad. I know there's not much point in complaining, and I know there's a fix finally coming. I'm very much looking forward to that, but until it is put in place, I don't know what's left for me to do in modern. It's in a pretty unhealthy spot right now. So I'm thinking maybe in the short term, maybe I will just ignore ranked or move to wild, try out wild. I haven't played it in quite a bit, so maybe there's something there. Although I'm just not too happy about having to pay for the pass. It's 2000 DEC in order to compete in wild, so that's sort of a commitment to then play all my battles every season whenever I get the pass. But this could be an idea, because at least for a while I can rent more higher level cards, or at least I have them at the silver level, many of them, so that's a more reasonable proposition for me maybe. Anyway, this was a ranked battle, as you can see here, ranked, but we can move on to some other things, some more exciting things I want to share. As usual, I'm mostly looking forward to these tournament battles. I think this is really where the fun is at these days, sadly. And we can look at them. The first one, I think it's a novice level tournament. I think you can tell by the levels of some of these cards. They should be novice level restrictions. Not that it matters too much in this case, but it was a nice face-off between two tofu summoners, of course, very strong summoners, and we had very peculiar rules. Melee only, up close and personal, so only melee units allowed. This card is very strong in this format, so my opponent correctly recognized this opportunity, of course. I didn't use that one. I'm gonna talk about my approach here in a second, but let's look at the other rules. Flying, so that's sort of the reason why we both chose the Royal Eagle Palus in order to fight here. And then this very new and weird rule, collateral damage. All units have reckless, so it's a really chaotic rule set overall. And the mana cap is 32, and you can see the open splinters here. My approach here was a little bit cheeky, a little bit cheesy, I think, but you know, there's no honor in losing. Sometimes you have to try these cheeky strategies as well. I deliberately put some of my big units in the back where they could not attack, like for instance the ape and whatever. Palus also can't attack so long as this guy is alive. So very passive, extremely passive approach, but I think it paid off because most of the other units are just gonna die to the thorns from my own summoner. Of course, these guys don't get to attack, so they're not gonna be hit quite in the same way. And I was also, of course, hoping the earthquake would take some of them out before these guys could even make it to the front. And I was also sort of banking, low-key banking on this new card, this very cool card, Scrag the Gnaw, to apply his Poison Burst effect to the opponent's lineup for some additional chaos. Sadly, as you can perhaps anticipate, it didn't work out that way because between the damage from the earthquake and the collateral damage from the reckless effect, this guy was took out by, well, not by the enemy units, so the poison burst doesn't apply in those cases. I should have seen that coming, but I think it was still a reasonable submission even without the poison burst, because this is just a tanky sort of unit that goes well in the front there. So that was my thinking. Now we can watch the battle now and see how I'm just gonna spoil it, how I came out on top of this one. You can see all the collateral damage. The positioning of the units is very important, but it's a nuance of these matches that I haven't quite mastered yet, I don't think, with the reckless effect. But you can see there's a lot of damage coming in and I'm being spared some of it. And of course this scavenger effect with these two guys is very important, significant as well. And yeah, this guy has the deflect, so it doesn't take damage from thorns, but there's still a lot of damage because of the earthquake and whatnot. So I was very, very healthy still when it came down to these last two guys. So cool tournament battle there. I'm happy with that cheeky little win. And if we go back to lobby, as it says here, we can perhaps okay, look at the results. So I came in 15th with 15 wins and 6 losses, and that netted me, sadly didn't quite make it to the podium, so to speak, but still 96 SPS for this tournament. So this is pretty much the spot, around the spot where I usually end at, so nothing too surprising there these days. Let's look at a couple of other battles. These are all from different recent tournaments. We have this one. What's going on in this one? Let's see. It's taking a while to load. Oh, okay, so this was also interesting. This was a match, I think, where it could have really gone a couple of different ways. So it was a gamble in a way, but sometimes you have to take some risks, you know? So we can look at the rule sets, this one, Hive 5, nothing too special there. Fog of War, so there's no sneak, snipe, and opportunity, so most of the damage is going to the front line, of course. And then Shades of Grey, only neutral cards, units allowed this time, so very restrictive, very weird rule set here. And you can see the splinters available, and my strategy sort of came down to this detail of these 3 splinters, because of course life being available means there is a possibility for the opponent to go Tofu, very strong summoner, that my main Lorcus, as it was the case for my opponent, he chose to go for Lorcus. But then I also had the option with water to go for the legendary summoners for water, which I chose EMP. I like it over the cryptic one a little bit better most of the time. I think it's a little bit stronger. It's still not as strong as Tofu or Lorcus, so it's I want to feature this battle here because it's not extremely often that this guy beats up those 2 other very strong legendary summoners, but sometimes it's possible. And we can see here the sort of my reasoning. Well, this was a gamble, as I've said, with Venka. This wouldn't have been a very good choice if my opponent went Tofu, but I was lucky went Lorcus, so pretty good card without the Tofu around, Venka the Vile. Then this card, this new card, reward card of Shanos Unmade, with a very funny bit of lore and stuff behind it. For the old players, they should definitely recognize the name of this unit. But I chose it. Well, I couldn't pick many cards, to be honest, because it was just the neutrals. But I think I chose it because of the Dispel effect here, very important. It could have been good, I think, perhaps against the... Doesn't quite work against the Divine Shield against Tofu, but maybe with the Scavenger effect, that gives a lot of health points, the Dispel could help take that away and help take down the potential Tofu lineup from my opponent. So I think that was my thinking, and in general, some nice strong units in the back between Vanka and this Chaos Battle Mage with Piercing, both of them, so dish out some very significant damage from the back line. I think that's a reasonable choice. And then I was also able to spare 1 mana point to put this guy at the front to soak up some damage, which turned out to be very meaningful because my opponent ended up going for this cheeky little strategy with all these magic attackers, and if I hadn't put this guy in the front, it would have been tough for my main unit here, Mantra, to survive. But if we can watch the battle, you can see there's a lot of damage coming in, magic damage mostly, and yeah, it would have been bad, and my tank here almost died, but thankfully it came down to it having just 5 health and then started doing the armor strike and the piercing attack. So once these units got to the front, it was just a matter of a few turns for me to completely destroy the whole lineup there. So very satisfying battle to watch whenever these opponents try to go for these cheeky magic strategies and you can somehow survive. It always feels funny and rewarding to win. So that's why I wanted to share this one, and we can look at the overview of this tournament as well. This was bronze. I think adept means bronze here, so it was a bronze level tournament. I came in 36th, again, sort of my usual placement more or less, and that's sadly not good enough to end up in that other bracket up top in terms of rewards, but whatever. I could have played better, I think, in some of my battles, but overall still an enjoyable experience, of course. And then I have one more battle to share, and this is actually from an ongoing tournament. This is wild, of course. You can see wild cards, wild units, and it's restricted to novice, I'm pretty sure, this tournament. So I want to share this last battle for a couple of reasons. For one, there's this very funny card, this unit, legendary Minotaur Warlord, and I don't know, I just like the vibe and the art in this card a lot. It's not the strongest card necessarily, it's definitely a decent legendary card, but most of the time it's not exactly for choice in the live Splinter, but it was definitely a very decent choice here. And in general, I just like the lore and the art and the vibe of it. This sort of fierce tribal warlord thing they got for this Minotaur unit. And actually, I think this belongs in the same bloodline as some other recent Minotaur cards that we've had recently, such as Maka, Hamling, a recent purchase of mine. So I think they're both Minotaur. And there might be some cool new strategies involving Minotaurs soon. Who knows? You never know. Because we've seen already with the most recent legendary airdrop, Summoner is going to implement some very curious strategies with Canizens and Elementals. So who knows? Maybe the same thing will happen soon to Minotaurs. So an interesting thing to keep in mind. Anyway, let's look at the battle. It's a relatively straightforward one. I don't think my opponent really put his best effort forward here, but can be tricky sometimes. The only rule we had was now you see me, that, and all the units have camouflage, so very strongly advised to keep your strongest units in the back, and make sure your front line doesn't fall, which you can close to it here. I think it was a little bit tricky, and if it happened, maybe I could have lost, but thankfully I resisted the oncoming attack, and well, you can see the splinters available. Maybe we could have made some different choices as well there, but I was pretty happy with my selection. Of course, I was tempted by this very strong, unbeatable strategy from the old days. Discard Llama Mage as a summoner with very strong effects. The plus 12 all around is incredibly strong and effective buff. Very straightforward buff. And then the last stand is really the icing on the cake here. And of course, when it comes down to this last unit, this is one of the best ones to receive the last stand because it's pretty much unkillable. You really need to have very specific units in order to take it down. So in a way, the match wasn't even starting until it was just Kron the Undying on the back there as my last unit remaining. But it didn't even come down to that. So it was a pretty convincing and straightforward win overall. But there's still some cards I don't use that much generally. And it was a cool battle, so I wanted to share it. And of course, my thinking there was, in case of heavy magic damage, which is what ended up happening here, as you can see, my front line was decently equipped with the magic reflect, very important. And then, of course, I also wanted, I nerfed the opponent's ability to magic damage with this Mushroom Seer card here. And then I double dipped. I went into the healing strategy with both the Sarat Leto epic unit and the Goblin Psychic from Chaos Legion, two very strong healing cards. So it ended up working quite nicely. And of course, this Minotaur card also very strong. 4 damage every turn is really not to be ignored there. So let's see exactly how the battle went. Reflecting some damage, but also taking heavy damage. But thanks to the heal, I managed to survive, and I'm making progress on the enemy lineup there. You can see the second healing coming through. So it was it wasn't the best lineup that my opponent chose for sure. So an easy win in a way, but I don't know. I still like this battle. I have soft spot for this Minotaur card there. And this is actually an ongoing tournament. It's still going on right now. I think we're in we're in round 1 currently. It's gonna end in a few hours. With this score, I made a couple of silly submissions here and there, so maybe I could have done a little bit better, but I'm overall happy with my result, which is more or less in line with what I usually do, and I'll probably, surely at this point get a chance to fight in round 2 as well, and maybe get a chance at the third bracket here with the rewards. Who knows? Usually it's a little bit tough to compete for that one, but maybe I can manage. Who knows? And these are my thoughts for these recent battles and the state of the game and what I'm doing in Splinterlands these days.